Hello students, this is Mr. David once again reading you the news during the school closure because of the coronavirus. And instead of the Young Post today, we're looking at the South China Morning Post. This one should be of interest to you because it's talking about when school should open. So we need to thank our reporter, Chan Ho Him, publishing this on the 11th of March 2020. And the headline, if my mouse is working, which it isn't. Come on, mouse. Okay, there we go. There we go. Coronavirus. Hong Kong secondary schools should reopen. This word reopen first. Say teachers as younger pupils. Pupils is the old way of saying students. Younger pupils, younger students. To face the prospect. This means the possibility. Okay, the possibility of COVID-19 shutdown until May. Because at the moment, school should be going back April 20th. The subheading, this is the main heading, this is a subheading. Unions. Unions means a group of people. United is joined together. So the union is a group of people, and school principals want the older pupils to return first in staggered reopening of schools from April the 20th at the earliest. Staggered means step by step. So instead of all the schools opening on April the 20th, they want the staggers to have Part A, Part B, Part C. So they want the secondary first and then primary later. That is why it's called staggered. Half days proposed for primary schools when lessons finally resume or continue, which could be in May. So we don't know about primary schools, but of course the secondary students is more important at the moment. I'm not going to look at all the words, but I'll look at the key words, okay? Let's have a look. Schools in Hong Kong should reopen in stages. Okay, step 1, step 2, stage 1, stage 2. When the coronavirus shutdown ends, with senior secondary pupils, that means Form 4, 5, 6, returning first in late April, and younger children staying at home until May, according to teachers and principals. So maybe if you're Form 1, 2, and 3, you will come back later, but for the moment, Form 4, 5, and 6 first. Older students would be prioritized. Okay, prioritized means more important. Prioritized for the return of secondary schools ahead of the reopening of primary schools, which could consider opening in the mornings only. So maybe if you have any younger brothers or sisters in primary schools, maybe they only have half day when they come back. To reduce the contagion risk. First time to see this word in the newspaper, contagion. Contagion is talking about the outbreak, okay? Under proposals from the biggest teachers' unions and head teacher associations in the city. The Education Bureau, again this word bureau, last month extended the suspension of kindergartens, primary and secondary schools in force until the end of the Lunar New Year on February the 3rd, until after the Easter holidays, or April the 20th at the earliest. Okay, we can skip this part. This is about Macau. Those kindergarten, primary and secondary school principals also who spoke to the Post said the Hong Kong education sector was in favour of senior pupils in secondary schools returning first in a staggered approach. Staggered again means step 1, step 2. Two sources, this means two people revealed that the government would meet with primary and secondary school principals on Monday to discuss the arrangements. This one we can skip. We can skip this one. I think that's okay. Let's talk about Teddy Tang. Teddy Tang Chun Keung, chairman of the Hong Kong Association, this word association of the heads of secondary schools, told the Post that continuing classes in phases was preferred because it could allow schools to make better preparations and help students adapt. Many secondary schools are preparing because their school premises, the word premises means place, okay, building is premises. Their school premises as exam centres for the Diploma of Secondary Education DSE exams, which would begin from March the 27th, and then on the arrangements for resumption. Resumption means continue. Resumption of classes afterwards, said Tang. He said there were still mask shortages, this word shortages, mask shortages at secondary schools because fresh supplies would only arrive from mid-April. Let's look at some numbers, shall we? This number here, how would you say this one? Okay, have a look at that. How would you say it? The easiest way, just look at this part. 117,715. So this number, 117,715 cases. This should be in the world. 4,288 deaths. Okay. So in mainland China, how would you say this number here? This one is 80,778 cases, of which there are 3,158 deaths. And Italy, which is really suffering at the moment, Italy has 10,149 cases, 631 deaths. So numbers is important. How would you say this one? Recovered. How would you say that one? 65,893. And again, let's come back to this one. 117,715. Let's have a look at Mr. Wong Kam Leung. Wong Kam Leung, a primary school principal and chairman of the 35,000 member Hong Kong Federation. Federation is a group. Federation of Education Workers also suggested senior and junior secondary pupils should return to school first, followed by primary schools in early May. When secondary school students resume classes, primary schools could follow after approximately 14 days after that. So maybe if you have younger brothers or sisters, maybe it will be May the 4th. Wong added that primary schools could cut the school day to avoid pupils eating and chatting with their masks off at lunch, which could heighten or increase the risk of COVID-19, especially for younger children. Let's move on. Let's look at the last part, yeah? Ivy Leung Sao-ting, a kindergarten principal and executive committee member of the, another number, 100,000 member strong Professional Teachers Union, which represents 85% of the city's educators, said kindergarten should be the last to return, which she added could come as late as mid-May. So if you have any baby younger brothers or sisters who are at kindergartens, they might not be back at school until the middle of May. She also said, she also said school hours at kindergartens could be considered to be shortened so kids would have relatively lower health risks staying at school. Okay, so that is today's news. Hopefully you'll learn more about the numbers, because I know numbers are difficult in English. Again, this one here, 117,715. Okay, so let's see how things will be. Hopefully we'll see you guys at school very soon. As always, stay healthy and stay happy, students.